Jalul the impostor. He needed the souls of millions to reach his full power. With the souls, he could live forever. As the people worshipped him at his feet, the true Jalul was defeated by him ages ago. Vorath came from an underworld, a red dimension of despair. The real Jalul was pure of heart and was the protector, full of love and wisdom. Their evolution was close to becoming the Photonians of legend. The pure humanoids of that time had wings, and Jalul was formed from the deepest love of two beings, Althea and Zaza. They were like the gods and goddesses of myth. Vorath the impostor was jealous, and he killed Jalul and took his name for himself. Many believed the deceiver and gave their souls to him upon death, worshipping him throughout their life. He captured Jalul's soul as well, and his power was used by the impostor. Vorath's brother Neem was extremely powerful and evil. He played no trickery, though. Brute force was his way. He ruled an underworld given to him by Vorath, his cruel brother. The two of them scared people into submission. Nehum frightened them, and Vorath pretended to be the savior, willing to protect their souls if they worshipped him. Now the false Jalul had his sights on planet June, the power, joy, and innocence of the people of Brightstar was a fountain of power. If he could convert them, they needed fear and suffering, and then they would embrace him. Vorath would create chaos and disaster to bring them to their knees. In the shadows, he plotted and planned, causing disasters. But there was a problem. The E-warriors and the heroic beings of Brightstar, they kept people hopeful, believing in themselves. There was wealth, making love and family the true treasure of, and it was the true treasure of their land. Fourth would had to rid the kingdom of the E-warriors and those that protected people. They must fall, so he must rise. Chapter 1. The cracks beneath granite. Granite Kingdom had never fallen to blade or fire. Its walls were carved from living stone, its towers older than memory, its people proud, disciplined, and resilient. For generations, granite stood as a symbol of endurance on Brightstar, a kingdom that bent but never broke. So Vorath did not attack its walls. He attacked its heart. Division had already taken root long before his arrival. It grew quietly, fed by resentment, neglect, and unspoken wounds within families. The government, once formed to protect its people, had grown corrupt, bloated with greed and fear. Vorath saw this rot and smiled. Through shadows and intermediaries, he whispered promises into the ears of rulers who had forgotten why they ruled. Power, stability, a new future. Gold flowed where conscience once lived. Vorath's influence spread not as fire, but as ink in water, slow, invisible, irreversible. The people were told change was necessary. They were told the past was broken, and worst of all, they were taught to blame each other. The women of Granite Kingdom were told they had been oppressed, ignored, and silenced by generations of men who took their devotion for granted. Their pain was real. Their anger was justified, but the truth was twisted, sharpened into a weapon. The men, proud and stubborn, had indeed grown complacent. They mistook strength for entitlement and loyalty for permanence. They worked, they fought, they built, but they forgot to listen. Love was assumed. Gratitude went unspoken, and so resentment festered. The government encouraged the fracture, passing laws that widened the divide instead of healing it. Every argument became political. Every disagreement became a side to choose. Homes became battlefields. Voices rose, doors slammed, trust eroded, and the children suffered in silence. Alan stepped out of the shower, steam curling around him. As he dried himself off, he whistled softly, a lazy jazz tune his mother used to sing when he was young. Around this time of the rotation, he always thought of her. Gratitude Day had just passed, and as usual, he had spent it alone. The next rotation would be different. The city would celebrate again. Lanterns, music, laughter. For now, Alan allowed himself one quiet thought. Bright Star is safe. He reached for the rack, where his white E-Warrior suit always waited. It wasn't there. Alan frowned. What? He muttered. There was no one else in the base. No technicians. No visitors, just him. He stood there, with only a towel wrapped around his waist, when a sudden sound echoed down the corridor, barking, metallic claws scraping, a low mechanical growl. Glitch, Alan called out. The noise grew louder. He rounded the corner and stopped short. Glitch, his newly activated robotic dog, was rolling across the floor, locked in mortal combat with the missing suit. The cape flapped wildly as the dog tugged at it, jaws clamped down, thrusters whining in confused excitement. Hey, no, Glitch, drop it, Alan shouted. The suit, nearly indestructible, held firm. Glitch did not. The dog spun, dragging the suit and Alan into a clumsy circle. Alan grabbed one sleeve, slipping on the smooth floor, barely keeping his towel in place. Careful, Alan hissed, glancing instinctively toward the camera feeds. We do not need that archived. Glitch lunged again, snagging the towel. Alan yelped and clutched it desperately. At that exact moment, Glitch, he said firmly, yanking the suit free. Bad dog, stop it. Right now. Glitch's ears drooped. His glowing optics dimmed as he sat back, emitting a soft, apologetic whine. Alan hesitated, then knelt and scratched behind his metal ear. You're still learning, he said gently. Alan took the suit, exhaling. Yeah, he said, managing a tired smile. So am I. Before anything else could be said, the base lights shifted to alert red. Maya, the base computer, spoke calmly but urgently. Emergency report. Multiple alarm fire detected in the Bright Star Kingdom industrial sector. Structural integrity failing. Hundreds of lives at immediate risk. Alan's expression hardened instantly. He activated his suit in one smooth motion as it sealed around him in white and gold light. Maya, full feed to emergency services. Acknowledged. Alan stepped toward the open window and raised his arm. Lucidus, he called. The sky answered with a thunderous roar. A massive shadow swept past the glass as Lucidus descended, wings catching the light of the city below. Alan leapt forward without hesitation, launching himself from the base window. Together, they surged into the sky toward fire, toward danger, toward the people who needed them. Bright Star was safe, but it wouldn't stay that way without them. Here's flames clawed their way up the sides of the Bright Star Energy Tower, turning the night sky into a boiling orange scar. Smoke poured from shattered windows as alarms wailed, echoing through the streets below. Fire crews fought desperately, water cannons hammering the inferno, but the blaze only grew stronger, feeding on the volatile power conduits buried deep within the building. Inside the command zone, a firefighter shouted into his radio, pressures rising on the lower reactor levels. If the fire reaches the auxiliary power core, we lose the block. A sudden gust of wind tore through the smoke. High above the tower, a white figure streaked down from the clouds. Bright Star Fire Department. A calm voice carried through the chaos. You're not alone. Alan E. Warrior of Bright Star landed on the 50th floor balcony. As flames curled toward him, fire washed over his suit and cape, but it did nothing. The white and gold armor shimmered, absorbing heat as if it were sunlight itself. He raised his arms, and a radiant shield bloomed outward, pushing the fire back from a cluster of terrified civilians trapped near a collapsed stairwell. Everyone stay close to me, Alan said steadily. I've got you. Glass exploded outward as something massive descended alongside the tower. Lucidus roared. The mighty dragon coiled in the air, scales glowing blue and gold. As his wings beat back the smoke, he opened his jaws, unleashing a torrent of ice that crystallized the raging flames along the upper floors, freezing steel beams in place and stopping the fire's advance toward the power supply. Firefighters stared in awe. He's cutting it off, one of them yelled. He's actually holding it. Lucidus pivoted midair, flames bursting from his mouth, this time controlled, precise. He burned away debris blocking access routes while keeping the heat carefully contained. Ice followed fire, sealing ruptured lines and stabilizing the structure in seconds. Inside, Alan moved like a living beacon. He wrapped civilians in his arms, children, elders, workers coughing from smoke, and carried them straight through walls of fire. Flames bent away from him, as if afraid to touch the light he carried. Each time he exited the building, Lucidus swept low, ferrying groups safely to the streets below before circling back again. Next group ready, a fire captain shouted, barely believing what he was seeing. Minutes felt like hours. Then, with one final surge, Lucidus unleashed a concentrated blast of ice directly into the reactor chamber. The temperature plummeted instantly. Warning lights flickered, then went dark. The explosion never came. Cheers erupted across the street as the last survivors were carried to safety. Fire crews slumped in exhaustion and relief. Alan landed beside them, smoke curling harmlessly off his cape, while Lucidus folded his wings and stood watch above the tower like a guardian made of myth. Cameras zoomed in as reporters rushed forward. Tonight could have been a catastrophe, a news anchor said later, footage playing behind her. But thanks to the bravery of Bright Star's own E-Warrior Alan and his powerful ally Lucidus, every civilian was evacuated safely. The screen showed Alan smiling gently as he spoke to a rescued child, Lucidus lowering his massive head so a firefighter could rest a hand against his scales. Bright Star stands because of heroes like them. The anchor continued, and tonight hope flew through fire. High above the city, two figures rose back into the glowing sky, one of light, one of legend, leaving behind a city that believed again. Alan woke and stretched, feeling the quiet hum of Bright Star beneath him. He took a long, relaxing shower, his thoughts drifting, as they often did, to Antigua's realm, the ocean beneath the ocean, a hidden world layered with life, pressure, and wonder. The idea that such a place truly existed filled him with awe every time he thought about it. Afterward, he dried himself thoroughly and slipped into his e-warrior suit. Almost instantly, Glitch surrounded him, jumping, spinning, tugging at his cape with mechanical excitement. He wanted to play catch. Alan smiled. They launched through the window together, staying suspended in the open sky. Alan feinted a throw, and Glitch darted out across the air to intercept it. The distance was immense, but Glitch caught the ball easily. Instead of returning it like an ordinary dog, Glitch spun his body, converted the momentum, and hurled the ball back. Alan caught it. They continued, throwing the ball farther and farther apart, stretching the distance until they were hurling it across the city itself, catching and returning it through open sky. Glitch was getting faster, sharper, developing in ways that still surprised Alan. There was something different about him. A familiar chime sounded from Alan's belt. "Maya," he said. "Mission alert." The AI replied. "A tsunami is forming at the waterfront coast. Sensors confirm rapid escalation." Alan didn't hesitate. He flew back into the base, opened a drawer, and grabbed an assortment of small, glowing orbs. Then he was airborne again, Glitch racing beside him. As buildings blurred past, the wind tore against them. As Alan pushed faster and faster, Glitch kept up. When they reached the coast, the sight was devastating. Towering waves rushing inward with unstoppable force, threatening to swallow the entire waterfront. Alan opened his hand and threw an orb. A massive portal tore open midair, swallowing the wave whole. Moments later, a second portal opened high above, releasing the water harmlessly as rain. The tsunami vanished. The disaster was over, though the rain would last for quite some time. Alan hovered, clutching his chest as he caught his breath. Below him, people stared upward in shock. They were alive. The portal would close on its own. Alan turned and flew off with Glitch. The news feeds would handle the rest. He had somewhere else to be. Maya had reminded him of a mountain journey he was overdue for. The red treasure was in season. The plant was no ordinary growth. Its berries produced seeds capable of enhancing biological function, strength, endurance, adaptability. Even for someone like Alan, already empowered by eternity, the red treasure could unlock something deeper. They reached the mountains in moments. Warrior monks in crimson robes stared in disbelief. As Alan descended from the sky, they could leap great distances using their techniques. But true flight was beyond them. Magic, they whispered, or something else entirely. Alan was permitted to harvest the red treasure. Glitch stored several clusters within his back compartment. One young warrior, about 25 rotations, asked Alan if he could teach him how to fly. Alan paused. "I don't know how," he admitted. "I just think about it. The power doesn't come from me. It comes from eternity." That answer stayed with him. They returned to Bright Star and secured the treasure in a chest. Maya explained the delicate process of extracting its essence. Alan listened intently while Glitch bounded around the base. Then another alert. A massive minotaur-like creature was attacking the city. Alan had never seen anything like it outside myth. He flew to intercept it. "What are you?" Alan demanded. Why are you attacking Brightstar? The creature's voice was deep and grim. Your end is at hand, defender of the weak. The Minotaur swung. Alan vanished from its path. The battle exploded across the skyline. Alan fought while rescuing civilians, pulling people from collapsing structures, redirecting debris, moving faster than the eye could follow. Brightstar was alive, with flying vehicles and chaos. But not a single civilian was harmed. A brutal kick sent Alan crashing through the air. Before the creature could strike again, Glitch slammed into it, harassing, distracting, relentless. Alan rose and called out, Lucidus. The dragon descended from the clouds. Together Alan, Lucidus, and Glitch. They overwhelmed the beast, while Lucidus froze it layer by layer. Alan lifted the Minotaur higher and higher into the atmosphere. It broke free once too late. The creature began to lose consciousness. Alan deployed another dimensional orb. The Minotaur vanished, sealed in a controlled pocket dimension, contained, alive, but harmless. Back on the ground, Alan addressed the people. Cameras surrounded him. But this time he spoke. He didn't promise answers. He promised unity. They were resilient. They always had been. Back at the base, Alan stared at the orb. What happens if I keep storing creatures like this? Is containment enough? Or just delay? Lucidus rested inside the base, massive and calm. Alan offered him some of the red treasure. The dragon hesitated, then consumed it. Something changed. Alan felt it too. When he drank the essence, his emotions expanded, not outward, but everywhere. I can feel them, Alan said softly. The people, their emotions, miles away. Lucidus nodded. He felt it as well. Alan flew upward, Lucidus beside him. Glitch remained at the base. Alan ascended into the clouds and closed his eyes. His consciousness shifted. The red treasure and eternity were merging slowly, permanently. Too many questions suspended among the clouds. Alan entered meditation, feeling the living pulse of Brightstar beneath him, and for the first time, he truly understood what it meant to protect not just a world, but everyone on it. The end.